Well, firstly, what an honour to be standing here in a venue that actually bears your name.
Speak up.
That's Marquee. For those that Before I begin, I do believe I have admin to do. It seems Dave has lost his wallet again. If everyone could just have a quick look under their tables and see if there's anything there. Any wallets out there? Any wallets? Oh, there's one over there. What do you know, Dave? This one's all your wallets. Just 2 bytes, 5 sets of keys, 3 mobiles and a collie to go. I'd first like to thank Dave for his kind words on behalf of the bridesmaids. I would agree, are looking stunning today. Eclipsed by only one girl. Jenny, you look amazing walking down the aisle this afternoon. And yes, Dave, you look good too. If only we'd found your razor. I'd also like to thank all the guys that made Dave's stag weekend such a success. I think it's safe to say that 14 blokes sharing one bathroom for an entire weekend could have been recipe for a disaster. But thankfully the smell was quickly masked by a day of quad biking and rafting. And finished with Dave's karaoke debut, singing Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer, the video of which will be available at the bar later on. Now turning to the new Mr. and Mrs. Elson. I remember when Dave first introduced us to Jenny. We joined them both in a bar in the West End where they were celebrating the end of term at uni. It was busy in the bar that night, really difficult to make out what was being heard. Not that there was any music playing, of course, it was just our Glaswegian ears were unaccustomed to deciphering Jenny's Yorkshire tones. Jenny, over the years you really have become one of the family. I've never met anyone who radiates with as much positivity and energy as you do. Which should stand you in good stead for a marriage with Dave. Now this may be a case of too little too late, but I thought I'd look back over Dave's 30 years, just to give an understanding as to what makes Dave the man he is today. Now, Dave often laments about how my mum wished she'd given birth to a baby girl. A child whose hair could be braided, who she could buy dresses for and teach sewing and baking to. Unfortunately, neither Dave nor I enjoyed having our hair braided. It seems following the stag do, Dave does enjoy wearing dresses. Dave also somehow recalls that if born a girl, he would have been called Tracy. Now, I'm not sure this is entirely true, but it's a name that stuck with Dave throughout his uni career. Growing up with Tracy was really quite a roller coaster. You had to wait and see what kind of mood he was in. You see, Tracy had found out from an early age he was a master at both headbutting and biting. He didn't discriminate between his prey. Neighbours, friends, aunts and uncles. Tracy really was happy to give anyone a doing. When the red mist settled, however, and all the rooms were bandaged and dressed, Tracy really was, and still is, I might add, a terrific brother. One unusual characteristic of Tracy's was his ability to sleepwalk as a child. Now, this could be unnerving at times, when you'd wake up and find him standing in your bed, trying to get out the window, but nothing compares to the time that Dave journeyed into the kitchen. Now, in his defence, anyone could have mistaken that biscuit tin for a urinal. Unfortunately for me, I'll never eat a chocolate log again. Tracy could also be seen cavorting with a younger cousin, Steve. And from an early age, the pair became inseparable. Climbing trees, building dens, and getting into all the sorts of mischief that young boys should. All that mischief was thirsty work, however. And on one particular day, a glass of juice just wasn't going to cut it. A well-devised plan to swap vodka with water saw Steve and Tracy into the drinks cabinet for what I'm sure was going to be an afternoon to remember. I can only imagine the horror that greeted my aunt when she returned to find a half-cut Tracy sleeping naked under the running shower in her family bathroom. And to add insult to injury, Jenny, Sue said it was very lucky to see. At school, Tracy really was a model pupil. Yes, at the start, he lost the odd textbook, forgot his homework, packed his PE kit on the wrong day, brought in home economics ingredients a week before it was required, but he adapted. Tracy decided that the easiest way to deal with school was just to pack every single jotter and every single book and take it with him for every day. He was the only kid I'd seen going off in the morning with a suitcase. The move paid off, however, and by the time he reached 6th year, he had the grades needed for uni. Following a busy summer searching for keys, Tracy set off for uni to study vet medicine. Luckily for him, his campus was just across the road from our house in Bearsden, which meant the best of both worlds. The ability to roll out of bed and straight into the lecture hall, and 2 devoted housemates to assist in finding his wallet. It was during uni that Tracy, in his search for Jenny, began introducing us to girlfriends. Now some we only met fleetingly, others we got to know rather better. However, now's not the time to be discussing girlfriends of the past. I think it's safely fair to say, looking back at a few of these past partners, that Tracy's altered into animals. Towards the end of his uni career, Tracy took up the offer of a place at Bristol Uni to study animal behaviour. Now this was a big step, moving hundreds of miles away and taking responsibility for yet a further set of keys. Moving to Bristol heralded a new chapter for Tracy. He was leaving the family home and finding his own way in life. Well, he did pop back quickly just after leaving because he forgot his mobile. After his year in Bristol, he returned to Glasgow and took up residence with mates in the trendy West End, where AJ and Dave took on the mantle of organising Tracy's personal life. AJ, it's great to have you here at the wedding today. I know those years with Tracy really took their toll. It's great to have you looking so well again. Now I could bring up a number of stories of calamity at this juncture. Perhaps talking about the time when he needed some home comforts, Tracy headed back to Bearsden for a weekend of home cooking. And his surprise on Sunday evening when he was informed that the iron had been left on since he left 2 days before. Or perhaps the time he cycled to the supermarket and after paying for his groceries forgot how he arrived and walked home. It certainly made cycling to uni the next day very difficult. All this aside though, the boy done good, and 2 years later was packing up his stuff and heading to Yorkshire where his life began. Now, Tracy's established a great life for himself then in Rotherham. With his new wife, his 2 dogs, and his 2 cats, he really is like a modern age Noah. He always stays in touch, however, and I'm only to be too pleased to be able to offer Tracy continuing billy advice from afar. These days, it's not so much about how to make a fake ID to get into bars, or, dare I say, ill-founded tips on how to chat up girls. But more matters of life, work, even home improvement. Like, for example, when he phoned to ask for advice on painting the outside of his house. Thankfully, he called just before he started rolling interior emulsion across the outside of his facade. Tracy's also built a great reputation for himself as a vet, earning respect among his peers in the practice and maintaining a loyal client base. Unusually, however, he's the only vet I've ever known where animals seem genuinely eager to attend consultations. They literally pull their owners through the surgery doors. The only explanation I can think for this is that words got out about the special treatment Tracy provides. Now, a particular case involved a poorly male Labrador that required a sensitive operation. Professional as ever, Tracy inspected the problem, and within no time his nimble fingers were at work. True to form, he proved he really does have the magic touch because within seconds this dog's particular problem area had grown. Needless to say, this particular pooch left a happy customer, although my thoughts go out to the poor nurse who was left cleaning the ceiling. Outside the office, Tracy really is the outdoorsman. If he's not scaling rock faces in the Peak District, he's out pounding the tarmac preparing for another marathon. And it was in Edinburgh at the finish of the 2011 Edinburgh Marathon where Tracy plucked up the courage and asked Jenny to marry him. A brave move. There are not many women that would appreciate being offered a sweaty ring as a proposal. Fortunately for Tracy, Jenny had slipped it on her finger without a moment's hesitation. The couple really could not be better for one another. Tracy's even used to eating a more vegetarian diet. Fortunately for him, Jenny enjoys nuts, so the couple should fare okay on honeymoon. The pair set off for Australia and New Zealand after the wedding, and I'm sure they'll have an incredible time. Dave even mentioned to me last night how excited he is to get down under. I seriously could not be prouder to stand here and wish my brother and my new sister all the happiness in the world. It's therefore a true honour to ask everyone to charge their glasses and join me in a final toast.